Good evening, everyone. It's me, Drive Ghost, and welcome back to another video on an Omnitrix playlist. This time, a Multiversal Omnitrix playlist. In this video, I'll be going over some species or subspecies from different, verses and fictions, and creating Omnitrix aliens for them. And something a little unique about this video is that it's the first video where I'm taking a concept and actually drawing stuff from it. Well, technically the second I did do it with my Robocop video, but this is the first video where I'm doing like a list sort of thing like this, and drawing all the stuff for it. I've actually drawn all the aliens that I'm going to be talking about. Granted, I didn't draw full body pictures for all of them. Some of them were just kind of like headshots and upper body. But I'm still pretty proud of them, so let's get right into it. Alright, so before we begin, let's go over the rules that I tried to stick to when doing this. So, first obvious one, only 10 aliens. Then I did only one species per series, per video. So in every video, if I use a universe, I can only use one species from that universe. The species must be confirmed to have DNA, or could be reasonably assumed to. So if you look at something and you could, reasonably assume that it has DNA, but it hasn't been confirmed, that's fine. And the species must have something major separating them from humans, so they can't just basically be a human, they have to have something setting them apart. There is a subspecies in this video that I kinda push that a little bit with, but I still think it counts for that rule. So let's hop right into the first transformation. And the first alien for the playlist is none other than the Saiyans. An obvious and popular choice, a Saiyan transformation would be quite powerful with their natural ki manipulation, Zaro and Super Saiyan transformation, and immense potential with their training. Notably, given the Omnitrix feature of the forms being in their physical peak, it's likely that the Saiyan transformation would be capable of using Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 2, potentially Super Saiyan 3 depending on who the user scans, though it would not be possible to use the God forms without training from gods, or the Super Saiyan God ritual. The form would also likely have a tail, regardless of if who he scans doesn't have a tail, because, again, physical peak and all that. And I just realized I haven't colored in these little lines here on these bottom plates. That's gonna annoy me forever. But anyway, yep. Saiyans, they can probably use the Zaro form, Super Saiyan transformations, but not much beyond that without putting in, a lot of work or having a lot of luck. But yeah, very first form. And next is one that might surprise a few people who aren't, Transformers fans and only know them on, a basic level. I myself did not know this until I actually started, looking into it, really, but while Cybertronians may seem like large robots, in truth, they do have biology. Albeit significantly different from that of most species we've seen, in our world and in other fictions, but they are biological, even having their own equivalent of DNA, CNA, and granted, it does depend on the version. Some of them are more closely, non-organic than others. But the point is, you can find versions of Cybertronians that are organic, or at least close enough. The Omnitrix's Cybertronian form would have access to the obligatory transformations, the weapons, energon, manipulation, and compatibility, and the form could also potentially be outfitted with other forms of power-ups in the Transformers lore, such as Dark Energon if you're insane, or the Matrix of Leadership if you're compatible, And, fuck, there was something I was gonna say, I forgot. Oh yeah, and these power-ups probably would not be permanent aside from maybe Dark Energon, and I don't think that the Matrix of Leadership would just, stay with the form if you de-transform, so you probably would have to, re-equip it like you're going into a new fight and changing your loadout or something like that. But the form itself probably could be modified if you get, Ratchet or Shockwave or something to adjust it. And now, we are Venom. The Clintar, or more commonly known as symbiotes, are notably the similar opposites of galvanic mechamorphs. While galvanic mechamorphs basically do what symbiotes do to technology, Clintar do it to organic hosts. While we could settle for saying the Clintar transformation would have the abilities of a generic symbiote, since the Omnitrix makes the transformation in their physical peak as I mentioned before, it could have any number of abilities shown through symbiote offspring and evolutions. The possibilities are practically limitless, but given that we've seen symbiotes such as Carnage adapt to not needing a host in some versions, I would say the form would at least have this in addition to gaining new abilities from taking hosts, similar to the abilities that Venom gained from being Spider-Man's host, like getting his own radar sense, being immune to Spidey's and all that stuff. So yeah, if he took on hosts, the form itself would evolve, so this is more like a snowball transformation. Now, this is one that's probably going to be a little bit controversial, but hear me out on this. Due to Darkseid having both parents and having children, given the standards set by Alien X, it's likely that scanning Darkseid would allow the Omnitrix to create a transformation with Darkseid's abilities, or at least just create the form and then gain them through the Omega Force, with the right, process and stuff. But even without the Omega effect, Darkseid transformation would still boast incredible physical abilities as a new god. However, if the form does gain access to the Omega effect, it would have incredible godlike powers, such as, just to name a few, multiversal and multidimensional travel, and erasing matter via Omega beams, and literally so much more that I could make an entire video on what this transformation would be capable of doing, and probably get a lot of information wrong about it. Now we have one that was not only kind of tricky to draw, but also really interesting to think about. Xenomorphs are interesting for a few reasons, but most notably that because of how the Omnitrix works, physical peak and all that of their species, it's possible that Ben's xenomorph transformation wouldn't stop at being a drone or a Praetorian, but may even be a queen, because that is sort of the peak of their species, and some fans believe that drones can evolve into being queens, which is where this idea comes from for me. I don't know if that's confirmed or headcanon or anything, but if that is possible, Ben could become a queen. And even if that's not possible, the Ultimatrix feature exists, so you could just say, ultimate xenomorph would be a xenomorph queen, or someone brought up on Twitter when I posted about this, Empress is apparently a thing, and that would probably be the Ultimatrix transformation. But anyway, as a xenomorph, he'd gain the base xenomorph abilities such as, acidic blood, genetic adaptation, hive mind communication, and, if he can become a queen, creating and controlling facehuggers and drones. You know the Vlad ants of a vampire? Imagine turning into a xenomorph queen, creating facehuggers, and having your own freaking nest hive of xenomorphs. That would be nuts, and imagine if they were like Ben 10 alien xenomorphs, that'd be extra nuts. Well, I guess they kinda already experimented with that idea in the Alien Force video game with the xenocytes. And speaking of species that end with ITE, we have the Cenobites from Hellraiser. The Cenobites are an extra-dimensional species that possess mutated and mutilated bodies, as well as supernatural abilities, taken almost directly from the wiki. This form would have immediate access to knowledge of the lament configurations, as pretty much all of them seem to know how to use them, which would give access to supernatural abilities, such as teleportation, just to name one. Cenobites also notably seem to have telekinetic abilities, as pointed out on the wiki, supernatural empathy, and extreme pain tolerance, and natural logic and intelligence-centered minds. Additional abilities depend on what Cenobite is scanned, as they all tend to have abilities unique to themselves. I use Pinhead because he's the most iconic and one of the most powerful, but, it could be any number of Cenobites with any number of abilities. And next up are the Gendai. The Gendai are a revered and fearsome race in the Star Wars universe. Capable of living for thousands of years, the Gendai boast nigh immortality thanks to both their longevity and insane regenerative ability, which allows them to easily survive mortal wounds from lightsabers before that was common, and their lack of internal organs makes that even easier because, even if you, cut them clean in half, you didn't really damage anything important, so they're just gonna grow back from that. Pretty much the only way to kill them is, vaporization. And while that isn't uncommon in Ben 10, it's not something you're gonna encounter every day. The Gendai also have near-instant reflexes, great physical prowess, and great sensory abilities, making them all around deadly enemies. I mean, we've all seen what Dirge can do. Imagine a physical prime version of it, assuming Dirge wasn't like the physical peak of the species. Next up is another strange one that you might kind of question, but from my research, it has been confirmed that gyms in Steven Universe do in fact have DNA within their gyms, meaning the Omnitrix can scan them and create a transformation with their abilities. Given that diamonds are essentially just perfected versions of gems, it's also likely his form would be, for all intents and purposes, a diamond, or alternatively he could just scan a diamond. What ability he gains depends on the gem he scanned, but he would have the general abilities such as, a weapon, superhuman prowess, the gem core, shape-shifting, assuming he doesn't scan Peridot like in this one. Also, I just chose Peridot because, she's green. He probably would not choose Peridot as the gem he scans. But, Peridot's cute and I wanted to draw her and all that. And up next are the Shokan from Mortal Kombat. And before you ask, yes, I was very tempted to do Shiba instead of Kentaro. I will not elaborate further. The Shokan are a race of powerful four-armed warriors with dragon blood and a warrior culture. Kind of like Saiyans. The Shokan boast not only immense physical prowess, but the ability to project powerful fire-based attacks. In addition to this, the user could access the Tigrar lineage subspecies to access their superior agility in addition to the usual abilities. If you don't know, according to original lore, Kentaro was supposedly more agile than Goro, despite the comic showing him lose a fight to Goro, but I choose to go by the lore and not the comics. This was before the comics were, sticking to canon. These traits also help to set the Shokan apart from the Tetraman of Ben 10, the four-arm species, because last I checked they don't have fire abilities. And remember how I said I really push one of the rules with one of the transformations? Yeah, this is the one. Another very strange one, but there are many implications in Harry Potter that magic is a genetic trait, what the fuck did I say? And being linked to biology. With the Omnitrix's subspecies compatibility, it's likely that it would be able to copy a wizard from Harry Potter. Though the user would still have to learn and train with magic to use the form effectively, and they would need a wand. Though they could just defeat the person they copy and become the owner of their wand. I gave them the Elder Wand in this picture because I thought it would be cool, and I based them off of Voldemort because he's the least human-looking wizard. I could have also used goblins, but I figured wizard would be more interesting to talk about. Because of them being the peak of the quote-unquote species, they would also possess extreme talent and natural skill with magic, especially if you scanned Voldemort. Again, this is the one that's really pushing my has to be different from humans rule, but I do think that because they are technically mutants or a subspecies, I would say that wizards could be added to the Omnitrix. So anyway, this was the very first multiversal playlist that I've made, all 10 aliens as you can see here. This was pretty fun, and I would definitely make another one. I probably am in the future gonna make this, like a series and stuff. And that'll be fun. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to comment below, like the video, subscribe, all that jazz, comment below, this is important, comment below, the species you think should be added to a multiversal playlist, and I'll consider adding them for the next video on this that I do. So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed, have fun, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.